Hi, you are now listening to an episode of What is Your Story by Noisy Podcast. Enjoy!
Hi guys, my name is Mayowa and I'm a film producer, and this is my story. My journey started in Port Harcourt, where I grew up, basically lived my whole early 20s. I studied geology at the University of Port Harcourt. And then I remember very well, it was just shortly after my project defense at Uniport. I then realized that I think I want to do radio. I wasn't even sure what was going through my mind, but then I just realized I think I want to do radio. So Cool FM was like the biggest radio station in Port Harcourt at the time. This was like 2014, 2015. So I remember walking into the office that afternoon, and I met Okemute, who later on become my co-host on a show on TV. But anyway, met Okemute, we had a conversation, and then she was like, "Oh, this is a media house. We do not have anything for a geologist." And then she said, "I mean, except you want to intern." She was the admin at the time. She said, "Except you want to intern with me as an admin, assistant admin or something like that." I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" So she asked me to start the following week. So that was how I started working as an admin assistant. I did that for about 6 months, and then I got what I would describe like a big break here, because it was a big break at the time. So I was asked to present a show on radio because somebody was quote unquote fired, and I wasn't ready for it, to be fair, because it was on the spot. But then I realized that was God giving me a chance, right? So I took it, went on the show, and this was on Wazobia. Yeah, and before then, I had no history of pidgin speaking. I never thought I could present in pidgin English even. But then as a Port Harcourt boy, I guess these things comes to us naturally. So I went on did the show. It was for like 15 minutes. Of course, there was English here and there, but it was good enough to fly for the day. And just within that period, I had also learned certain things like producing. So one of the times when the producer wasn't on set and I had sat with him, watch how he produces. One of the times he wasn't on set, I was asked to produce one of the radio shows. It was called Fresh Off at the time. So I produced it, and it went on air, and it was good. And then other things I was doing was I was also doing graveyard shift on Nigeria Info. So because Cool FM, Wazobia, Nigeria Info is owned by the same company. So I was doing graveyard shift on Nigeria Info. I would always go into Cool FM to do like some student shows with some students, just here and there. But I think my first actual job was with Wazobia. And I got to do that for a while. And after then, they were now opening Wazobia TV. So I was now officially a TV host on Wazobia TV. So I became a face, had my fair share of popularity and all of that in Port Harcourt. And then my co-host was the admin person who brought me into the industry in the first place. I'm forever grateful. And I remember one advice she gave to me, which still sticks with me till today. She said, "Stay hungry and stay humble." In case you ever get to listen to this, I'm just saying thank you and big shout out to you as well. Okay, so back to how I became a film producer. So in 2019, I don't know, for some reason I was just feeling like a big fish in a small pond, and I felt like there was more, and I was now opening up my mind to either move into another industry or move into a bigger environment, maybe somewhere where there was more competition. Not like I was the biggest around, but I just needed some form of inspiration. And at the time, Ike Osakidewa was one of my biggest inspirations. I remember he visited Port Harcourt a couple of times. We met up, had conversations, which was really nice. Big shout out to you, Ike. Thank you for being an inspiration. Moved to Lagos, had an opportunity to move to Lagos in June 2019. And then I joined the Sound City family. So at the time, Sound City had Sound City Urban Radio, and they had Correct FM. Correct FM was also a pidgin station. So moved into Lagos to join them, and I was now doing stuff on Correct FM. I also had to do stuff on TV, which was like on TV. I think on Spice TV at the time. So basically doing just all of these things. And I think one thing all of this experience helped me build was my ability to tell stories, which I guess is what led me into filmmaking. But filmmaking didn't still just happen that way. I think my first experience with film was acting. So I did Flatmates first. I was on Flatmates, and then I felt like, okay, I think there's something here. So I went to film school, which was EbonyLife Creative Academy, April 2022. Graduated 3 months after, and then started going out for auditions, which was very crazy. The audition space in Lagos is is interesting. And then, so what happened was my very close friend who we had met in film school acting class wanted to go back for directing. And then we're having a conversation around it, like, oh, maybe I should go back and try something else. And they were trying to look at my abilities, where would I naturally fit? And what came was producing, because it felt like producers were people managers, and I was very good with people. I'm like, okay, you know what, since you're going for directing, I'll go for producing. Maybe we could have a collaboration in future. And that was how I went in for producing class. Fun fact, my friend who made me go back to take the producing course didn't finish his directing class because he had an acting gig. And I think that's like God's way of just making me do what he wanted me to do, because I don't think I would have gone on to take a course in producing, especially after I'd done acting. And to be very honest, all of this wasn't easy because I was still on radio at the time. So at the time I took my acting class, I was still on radio. But when I wanted to go take the class, I had spoken to management on radio that, look, I think I want to try this stuff. I needed to move my shifts from day to night. So they allowed me to move my shifts from day to night. So I'll go to school from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then do radio from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. and then do Uber because I had a small car.
Are you enjoying the episode so far? If you love stories that make you feel at home, check out our anthology, A Man and a Woman and Other Stories. You can get a copy of this book through the link in our description box below or at Roving Heights Bookstore. Now let's get back to the episode.
Do Uber from like 11 to like 1 a.m. and then go home. I was just trying to, do all of that at that time. But immediately I finished producing and I realized, okay, I really wanted to focus on this. I had resigned from radio. I left my radio job to do producing full time. And so when the offer to work with EbonyLife came, it was like a no-brainer. And to be honest, EbonyLife is like one of the most structured production houses in Nigeria. So that came with all of its own experiences. I went on to do 2 projects with EbonyLife. The first was Baby Farm. And Baby Farm was like my first real experience on set. Before then, I had done a short film called Subsistence. And a lot of things I had done were like knowledge from film school, which is a complete different reality. By the way, one of the things film school will do for you is community. It would bring you into a community of young filmmakers. It would bring you to a community of people who are also hungry and are just looking for stuff to create. I think that helped me as well because I was always having conversations with friends in the industry. Most of the people I know now who I'm very sure in the next 10 years will be like the big players, I met them all in film school. But now coming back to working with EbonyLife and Baby Farm. Baby Farm was such an interesting story. When I read the script, it felt different, it felt new. It wasn't like one of the stories that people would naturally, willingly want to tell because it's an entertainment industry. People either want to make people, laugh or maybe make money, make commercial films. But Baby Farm wasn't one of those stories that they wanted to tell to make money. It wasn't a commercial film. It wasn't a feel-good movie. It was just a very passionate story. And I remember it was written by Moabdu and I think Heidi as well. Like I said earlier, EbonyLife is like one of the most structured organizations around, especially in the creative space. It was easy working with them because of that structure. It wasn't even a case where everybody had an opinion. We had a lot of females on set, a lot of women on set, which I think is also as a result of the story. In fact, for example, I think we had just about 4 main male actors on set. Every other person as an actor were female. And I had to work with about 15 of them at the same time. Big shout out to all 15 of you if you get to listen to this. It was quite an experience for me. It was one of the experiences that stretched me as well as a producer, because I mean, imagine having to, I'll use the word, take care of 15 people day in, day out. I think for about 12 or 15 days. It was hectic, but I'm grateful for that experience. I'm grateful also to have experienced the kind of structure that EbonyLife had in place. It also just made me realize that certain things are possible with creatives. And after that, we went on to do Dust to Dream, which is like one of the projects that hasn't come out yet. Dust to Dream is Idris Elba's directorial debut. It should be coming out any moment from now. Beautiful story, really amazing story. I think you will love it. It's a short film. It opened my eyes to something entirely different as well, because it felt like a Hollywood set here in Nigeria, here in Lagos, Nigeria. We had more white people even handling the cameras, more white people even on the production team. You know, for the first time, it was different, and I'm glad that I was part of that project, even from pre-production to production and a little bit of post-production as well. One of the things I think people are not very aware of is what producers do. And I think this is where I begin to wrap the conversation. For me, a producer is like the person who births the vision. So you have the vision, and then you now have to decide who you think can help you bring this vision to life. So a producer has a vision to make a film, and then you now most times have to look for the money to make this film. And then most times you now have to look for the director, look for the DOP, look for the actor, just bring everybody together. It's not a very easy role. It's not an idle role like people make it look. It's just so interesting because as a producer, if you do your job very well in pre-production, in production, you might even be sleeping on set, because your job is just to make sure that the environment is conducive enough for everybody to be able to function. And I think one of the qualities of a good producer, which interestingly was the question I was asked when I was being interviewed for the job on EbonyLife, was what I think is the most important quality of a producer. And I think it's people management. A lot of times people think producers manage money, but if all you do is to manage money, then you are just an accountant. I'm sorry. But as a producer, you need to be able to manage people. If you manage people very well, you would even spend less money. So yeah, just to summarize what a producer does, a producer is the person who births the vision and follows it till the end. The producer is the only person who is there from pre-production till post-production until you get to see the content. Director comes in halfway after the script is in like the second draft. And then once the film has been shot, sometimes you don't even get to see your director again. As a producer who would keep sitting on with the editor, go and sit with the marketing department, go and sit with video censors board and make sure that, look, this film comes out at the time it's supposed to come out. Make sure the film goes out to streamers or to cinema, balance accounts. Producer is the person who is there from the beginning to the very end. So yeah, I hope that explains the job of a producer. And just to mention projects that are coming out, I mentioned one of them earlier, which is Dust to Dream, Idris Elba's directorial debut. It's coming out soon. It's coming out this year, definitely. And I'm also working on my first feature. I can't mention the name because you guys didn't sign NDA. But then I'm also doing a podcast. I'm also doing, shameless plug, a podcast is called Turning 30. And it's basically around conversations and anxiety with people who are turning 30, who have turned 30. Not just the negatives of it, also the positives of it. Because when I turned 30, I know how I felt. But now a few years into 30, I know how I feel as well. I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. I also have a couple of shorts that I'm making for festivals. And I'm also looking to make film for YouTube. Because, yeah, that's where everybody's running to. Thank you very much for listening to my story. My name is Mayowa. I'm a film producer.
We hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode of What Is Your Story by Noisy Podcast. If you would like to be a guest on this show, click on the link in the description box below. Don't forget to share, leave a comment, and like this episode. Also follow us on social media at Noisy Streets. Okay, see you same time next week. Bye.